This is where it gets a little ridiculous.
As if it hasn't already been ridiculous.
Yeah.
I know.
Before the last victim ran.
Or the softcore pornography, what people call softcore.
Borderline personality, antisocial behavior.
There it is.
There it is.
Did you redo that? I'm sorry. Buckle up, Buttercup, because it's about to get dark. Trigger warning. July 1997, Dominique took his first victim. Mr. David Mitchell was only 19 years old. So much life ahead of him. He was picked up hitchhiking from his maman's house after a relative's birthday party. Dominique picked him up, SA'd him, strangled him, and dumped his body near a wooded area in St. Charles Parish. 2 days after he was last seen hitchhiking from his maman's house, July 14, 1997, his body was found, and forensic research had shown that there was ditch water in his lungs, but no trace of physical trauma, drugs, or alcohol. His death was initially ruled as an accidental drowning. However, Mr. David's father insisted that his son was an excellent swimmer, and he couldn't have drowned, especially since the water level in the ditch was low. But this is how much, at this time, people here frowned upon homosexuality.
As I say, Donut Squad. What was his like causes of death again?
Accidental drowning.
No. Before, like what you said that Ronald did to him.
SA'd him.
Anything else? Like physically beat?
Well, he and strangled him.
Okay.
And dumped his body in a near wooded area in St. Charles Parish.
Okay, I guess that wasn't apparent enough, but then to deal the cause of death as an accidental drowning in a ditch.
Yeah. And that's...
Come on, man.
Especially with the strangling, because isn't there a certain bone or some cartilage in your neck, like when you strangle somebody, it's broken. So that's the first thing they look for as far as the strangling goes.
But I guess if they're not looking because he's homosexual, they don't care.
No,
they probably. If they didn't do an autopsy, it might not be as apparent as the water in the lungs.
You're not gonna see rectal fissures and stuff like that.
It's gonna be a very topical investigation to be like, okay, right.
Exactly. And I believe
I know the answer to this question.
that it's 10, if I'm not mistaken, 10 to 15 pounds of pressure to break that bone. If I'm not mistaken.
Mama's wrong again.
Mr. David's father insisted that his son was an excellent swimmer and that he couldn't have drowned, especially since the water level in the ditch was low. But this is how much at the time people here frowned upon homosexuality, even if some of the victims were not homosexual. After Dominique was arrested in 2006, even with Mr. David's body being found while his pants around his ankles, relatives denied he was gay. He didn't drink, nor did he take illicit substances. Ronald McDonald's biggest fans, next two victims, were also in St. Charles Parish. The first of these two victims, first of these two victims was in December of 1997 when he strangled Mr. Gary Pierre. His body was found fully clothed with no drugs or alcohol in his system upon the time of his autopsy, nor did he have any physical trauma. The second occurred July 31st, 1998, when he killed Mr. Larry Ranson. Now, Mr. Larry was the first of Dominique's victims to be subjected to bondage by Dominique. Yeah. So this is the first one where he starts using his belt to choke them until they pass out or eventually... cease to exist.
Forcefully evicted from life.
Yes, by Ronald McDonald's biggest fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I digress. The next one, hearing the victim's family talking about him genuinely hurt, because the way that his family talked about him, he was just this upstanding guy. He was very lovable, and he was a joy to be around. Everybody knows somebody like that. You Absolutely. Might be that person. You might be a joy to be around. people might gravitate towards you, and it sucks. It sucks when somebody like that passes away, because it just leaves such a hole, you know, in your day-to-day life. You know, like me and Nick, we used to be a trio. One of our best friends had passed away, and you know, now we're not the
Now we're not that
amigos.
trio anymore.
Yeah, now we're not the trio anymore. You know, because we were always together. But you know, it leaves a vacuum,
Right.
of that person being gone. So, on October 1998, Dominique met Oliver LeBancs. LeBancs was 27 years old. He was a father to multiple children. His coworkers loved him, and so did his family. And at the time of the incident in Metairie, Dominique, during his interrogation, claimed LeBancs offered him sexual services, as if Oliver LeBancs would have been a sex worker, you know, which, if you're a sex worker, you got to make ends meet. None of us are judging you for that.
No,
you know,
correct.
it is what it is.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, exactly. In exchange for money. And that's the thing. You know, that was his alibi for it. Now, gentlemen, hold on to my pockets, because it's about to get rough. All right? Arm, extend, twist, retract.
Let's go.
Dominique then led Mr. Oliver to his vehicle, overpowered him, sexually assaulted him, then beat him with a tire iron that was conveniently placed on his floorboards. Okay? Then once he was concussed, he began strangling him and then got winded.
He got tired of the strangling.
Yes. He got winded.
As a roly-poly would.
Yeah.
Exactly. He got winded, and he grabbed his belt and proceeded to strangle him to death with it. The belt was so tight on Oliver LeBancs' throat that the buckle lacerated his neck.
Golly.
Oliver's body was found on October the 4th on the outskirts of Metairie, and during the autopsy, the Donut Squad, mind you. During the autopsy, traces of semen were found on his body. Relatives, when interviewed, called him Ollie. And this is something that I want all of you to take to heart. Everyone is somebody.
Yep.
You know, regardless. You know, I don't care if you gay, straight, he, she, they, Apache, attack helicopter, toaster uniform. I don't care if you're a furry or if you drive a Kia Soul. All right, like, you are somebody, and if Ronald Dominique is your somebody, please seek professional help.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we focus so hard on this Donut Squad situation, because because just of this man's lifestyle, this man had 5 children. Regardless of this man's lifestyle, it's because of the lifestyle as to why, as you see throughout the story, why justice was not delivered like it should have been.
No. You know, and it's like they had the evidence there.
Yeah, what happened to that evidence?
Had the police done a better, thorough job, a lot of lives could have been saved.
Exactly,
Yes.
like we said earlier.
Yes.
You know, like 23 lives could have been saved. You know, and at the time, I will, devil's advocate here, you know, me, Alec, you know, roll in, Rolling Stone, sympathy for the devil. The police, obviously, they weren't swabbing for fingerprints, especially down here. They were not swabbing for fingerprints. They were not running semen samples or anything like that. And given his past crimes, they had no inclination, regardless if his semen was connected to him. As ridiculous as that sounds, you know, unless he gave a sample, there's no physically possible way that they could have caught him. So, benefit of the doubt, you know, Donut Squad, 1. Rational thought, 0. Sorry, you know. Also, in October of 1998, Dominique met Joseph Brown in Kenner. He was 16 years old. Dominique lured him into his truck and beat him over the head several times. Then excuse me, then proceeded to strangle him with a plastic bag. A month later, an entire month later, one month, 30 days, Dominique killed yet again. His victim, Bruce Williams. He was 18 years old at the time and suffered the same circumstances as Joseph Brown. In May, Nicholas. In May 1999. He claimed in an 8-month time span, 8 months, 3 lives.
Jesus.
Dude, that's...
He's just
3
going to town.
lives.
And I mean, the police is not on his trail, so why not? You know?
At this time, did they like start putting out like APBs about like, hey, there's a possible serial killer, or are they just isolated incidents?
Like, that's kind of the hard part about it, because he took lives in different parishes,
Yes.
different cities. The police officers and police officers were not, I guess, talking to each other and stuff like that, saying, hey, look, I have a body here. This is what happened to them. Do you have one that's similar? Yes. Okay, let's compare notes. You know, and then and this is a very big thing that I should have started with, and I apologize to you, the viewer. I apologize to you, and I apologize to you, and I also apologize to you, Nick.
Apology accepted, T-boy.
Sensational. I appreciate it. His victims were people of color. They were not white. You know, they were people of color, ranging from Hispanic to African American, and just, you know, he wasn't going after Caucasian victims because he knew at the time, that more attention would be drawn to a Caucasian man.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's sad to say, but
it's the truth.
Is the truth, you know, and it still speaks volumes today, you know, and I hate to say that, but it still speaks volumes today.
It also speaks to the times of like when these murders were occurring.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not trying to draw any light to this man, but that just goes to show you, like, I don't want to say he was smart when he chose his victims, but he knew what he was doing. Like you said, knowing that they, I guess, considered his victims to be that kind of high risk lifestyle, drug addiction, alcohol, sex work, kind of on the streets.
Yes.
He knew that attention would not be drawn. I think that's also why he killed so many of these people.
Yes.
You know,
and that's the thing. So this is where we turn to his first Hispanic victim. So his first Hispanic victim was Manuel Reed. He was 21 years old at the time of his death, and Dominique lured him to his truck and violently assaulted him, and then strangled him to death. He dumped Reed's body in an industrial dumpster about a mile away from where Brown's body was found. Just like Oliver LeBank's, semen was found on Mr. Reed's body, which belonged to, at the time, an unknown male. We move forward to June of 1999. Dominique claimed another life, which belonged to Angel Mejia. He was 21 years old.
Oh my, what is this?
Oh, dear God.
this house is haunted.
Sweet Maria.
I'm just kidding.
So, in June of 1999, Dominique claimed another life, which belonged to Angel Mejia. He was 21 years old. At first, Dominique tried disposing of Mr. Mejia's body via a dumpster, but after seeing it was full, he disposed of his corpse on the street. Just left his body on the street, you know. How ridiculous.
How absolutely ridiculous.
And then after further examination, it was found that his body was bound by rope prior to his death. Yep.
Yeah, that's not suspicious.
No. August 1999.
Sorry,
Dominique.
before you go further, you want to move this?
Go ahead. There we go. August 1999, Dominique struck yet again and claimed another life, 34-year-old Mr. Johnson. He lured Mr. Johnson to outside of the forest, where he then assaulted him, strangled him, and his body was found completely nude on September the 1st of the same year. Now, boys, at this time of writing this script, I felt the need to smoke an entire pack of cowboy killas, which, for those of you who don't know, those are Marlboro Red 100s, and they were my cigarette of choice. But I don't smoke cigarettes anymore, and I could have smoked an entire pack.
I don't blame you one bit.
Yeah, after doing the research for this episode, because boy, I was stressed out.
This is relapse-inducing material.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's some heavy material.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, absolutely. You know, so Dominique took a small break, and in January of 2000, he claimed another victim, 23-year-old Michael Vincent. This one was in Lafourche Parish. Fast forward to early October of 2000, Dominique became significantly close to 20-year-old Kenneth Randolph Jr. Kenneth lived near him in the trailer park, where he lured him into his trailer, where he attacked him and then strangled him to death. He took Kenneth's body outside of the city, where he was partially naked, and they found his body on October 6th. On October 12th of 2002. Late that night, Dominique met 26-year-old Anoka Jones on the streets of Houma. He attacked Jones, tied him up, and proceeded to assault him, then strangled him to death, and he then proceeded to dump his body under an overpass, where it was found several hours later.
Right, it's just one after another.
Dude,
I mean,
it genuinely is.
are the police having any suspicious at this point, like task force, and be like, oh, we might have a serial killer here, fellas? Anything like that at this point? Nothing. And how many people so far? A lot.
A lot. Enough. I will put a tally mark of how many people, but it's just, I'll put a tally mark of how many people so far that it is, just to keep it up here. But telling the story, I'm more focused on telling the story. So I apologize. So later that year, Dominique, still leeching off of family members, moved to his sister's, not but 5 minutes further from where we are sitting at in Bayou Blue. Dominique got a job as a meter reader.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, that gave him access to a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. Reading meters, traveling throughout the parishes, reading their meters, scoping places out. He might see you at your house, might take a liking to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's... Anyways.
It's mind-blowing that a man that has murdered this many people so far is still going about like a normal human being.
Not just that, but like all the trouble with the law he's had.
Oh,
right. You figured that'd be the last thing you'd want him to do.
You would think.
Give him free reign, give him a vehicle, say, hey, go read some meters.
Essentially a public servant.
SE type of charge, stuff like that,
Exactly.
Even just accusations like that, you say, no, we're going to keep you in the office, maybe. Not let you go on the road.
Exactly. And that's the thing. He was a meter reader. He was going to people's houses, essentially scoping them out. You could put two and two together. But during this time, he took the life of 19-year-old Detrell Woods. He disposed of his body in a roseau field, where his body was later discovered on May 24th, 2003, decomposing rapidly as well as partially clothed. Dominique also threw Detrell's bike near his corpse later during his interrogation. Dominique said that it was accidental because Detrell had asthma.
Blame it on the asthma.
Yeah. He died easier while I was strangling him just because he had asthma. I mean, it's okay, guys.
Oh, I know.
Should have had his inhaler.
Yeah, he should have had his inhaler. I would have gave him a break to use his inhaler. Good Lord.
Dude, exactly. And that's the thing that just keeps throwing me off about all of this, is that they I guess they believed him. I don't know. And that's
apparently
that's still manslaughter, though. Whether
it is
right, whether intentional or not intentional.
Yes.
That's
you took a life.
Yes, you took a life, regardless if he had dementia, asthma, schizophrenia, depression, whatever. He was missing 3 toes on his right foot. That's still manslaughter, man.
Absolutely.
You know, it's ridiculous. But October of 2004, Dominique lured 46-year-old Larry Matthews to his house. During the process, he lost consciousness, after which Dominique took it upon himself to assault him and strangle him to death. Later, he disposed of his body 20 miles away from the crime scene. Now, this part is heartbreaking. No one reported Larry Matthews missing.
Wow.
Not a soul. Because he was homeless, he was marked as a John Doe until later being identified via fingerprints.
Was he from here or?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was from here, so just no family contact, I guess.
Nope.
Yeah.
Dominique's next victim was in the same month. His first white victim. We got to the first white victim, gentlemen. Okay. 21-year-old Michael Barnett. His body was found on October the 24th, 2004 in a storage unit over here. The person who found him was one of the other tenants. She called management to tell them that there was a foul odor coming from one of the units and thick red substance leaking from under the door. I could feel you staring at me.
Yes.
Unfortunately, there was no cameras to see who the assailant was. Same cause of death as the previously stated victims. Nick, please.
How in the world did he gain access to that storage unit unless it wasn't locked? That's the only thing that it can be.
That's what blows my mind.
Or he cut the lock and, you know, it could be a bunch of stuff, but
Put
still.
a simula lock, you know,
Yeah.
like that's...
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Strange.
And you would think at this point the police are on the case and 100% they have to be getting close to having Ronald Dominique in their radar, but sadly you guys would be wrong.
Wrong.
Unreal, man.
Wrong again. Now, this is where it gets a little ridiculous.
As if it hasn't already been ridiculous.
Yeah.
I know, gentlemen, believe me.
As you are.
As I shall be. Ronald, at the time, before he was a meter reader, before that, he was working offshore. Even before that, he was a low-skilled worker. Now, he works at Domino's. And he reads the bingo numbers for the Lions Club.
I got a CDL me.
I got a CDL me. And you wanna know what? You coming home with me, baby. So, he was working for Domino's. He was reading bingo numbers at Evergreen. If I'm not mistaken, he was reading bingo numbers at Evergreen. And for the Lions Club, interacting with society, the Lions Club said that he was an outstanding member of society. And to that, I say John Wayne Gacy.
I was about to say that. John Wayne Gacy.
Did you want to talk to John Wayne Gacy, the politician, the clown, the family man, or the businessman?
John Wayne Gacy.
Perfect comparison.
Unbelievable.
Exactly. John Wayne Gacy, outstanding member of society.
Yep.
Best friends to Rosalind Carter.
Yeah, exactly. Not gonna shout out Carter, but you know, there's that. You know, Cash Money Records. In February of 2005, Dominique took the life of 22-year-old Leon Lorette. The messed up part about this one is that Mr. Leon lived with Mr. Barnett and Mr. Anoka. And actually, he was the prime suspect in both of their murders. Yep. He was the prime suspect of Anoka and Barnett's murders.
Took long enough.
Any convictions though?
No, it's that Leon Lorette
Yeah.
was the suspect of Barnett and Anoka's murders.
Right.
Not Dominique.
Right.
Okay, sorry, I misunderstood.
No,
you.
there was no convictions. Of,
How did they assume him?
Right.
because he was their roommate.
Oh,
And
wow.
one died, then the next one died, and he was the only one left living. So he was the suspect. No convictions. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know what else to do, so we're gonna convict. We're gonna charge.
Yeah.
Roommate
You're the
suspect.
roommate. You're still alive. We're charging.
Guilty by proximity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Guilty by proximity. That is a throwback to the Axeman.
Yeah, it is.
With the poor guy that was just passing on the street, and the cops saw him out the window and arrested him because he was walking on the side of the street. Who was just there, passing on the streets because New Orleans finest couldn't.
Got arrested.
Yeah, got arrested. Democracy Manifest.
I'm not assuring anything. We're under arrest.
Look, I'm under what? Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest.
I just, the charge was eating a succulent Chinese meal.
Yeah.
What is the charge? Eating a meal? A succulent Chinese meal?
All
It
right.
could have been the governor. Hey, you did it.
You! B-I-Y-S-C! So, 2 months later in April, Dominique met 31-year-old August Watkins. He lured him to his truck and they drove back to his trailer where he tied him up, assaulted him, and strangled him to death. After Watkins' body was discovered, police finally said, "Oh, hey guys, I think that we have a serial killer."
Oh, you don't
you
say.
Yeah.
What makes you think that?
18 bodies.
18 bodies later.
Can I say
18 bodies! That's how long it took!
can I say one thing?
Yes.
No shit, Sherlock.
Facts. Just facts.
man.
And that.
Hey, what time Tasty Cream's open again? What time it opens? Y'all want to go?
4:30 in the morning it opens up. Ask me how to know. So they were like, I think that we have a serial killer in the area, and he's active in Kenner and Houma. My brother in Christ, you have 18 bodies.
Yeah.
You think?
You
Or
think?
you know? Like this is ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
And they all have similar causes of death.
Yeah. Yeah. All around the same kind of lifestyle. He's got a profile, a victim profile. Like, this is not screaming at you.
Yeah.
I guess it isn't.
And like the thing is, the majority of the victims were sex workers, and the weird part about it is none of them had drugs or alcohol, like in their bloodstream or anything like that. But some of these victims, the police said that it was overdose. It was Colombian marching powder overdose.
Good
Book
lord.
of sugar overdose. That fine white powder overdose.
Yeah. I'd like to see that autopsy report.
I know, right? So they decided to hand the case over to the FBI. Finally.
Yeah.
So they started creating a criminal profile on the suspected serial killer. A few days after taking the life of August Watkins, he took the life of 23-year-old Kurt Cunningham. Later in the summer, he also took the lives of two more victims in two separate parishes, 28-year-old Alonzo Hogan in St. Charles Parish and 17-year-old Wayne Smith in Terrebonne Parish. Both had suffered the same exact causes of death as the other victims, but there were no traces of semen on Alonzo's body. Sadly for Wayne, we all know how Louisiana becomes the first circle of hell in summertime.
Absolutely.
And it becomes 9,000 degrees outside with a humidity level of 155%. You literally have to grow a set of gills.
You can wear the air. Yeah, you're
You
breathing
can.
water. You're going to drown in the air in the summer.
Exactly. It even has a tint to it, Has a tint. You call it Louisiana musk.
Musk.
Exactly. And look, they found, all jokes aside, they found Wayne's body in a canal severely decomposed and bloated after just a few days. Just a few days. Just because of the
There's
heat.
the heat.
Oh, yeah. It was bad. It was bad. September of 2005 will live in infamy. For all of us who live in Louisiana, we've talked about it before. It's Hurricane Katrina, And Dominique, being the soulless excuse of a human being that he is, took the life of 40-year-old Chris DeVille, who was trying to hitchhike out of Napoleonville. Following the devastation of Hurricane Katrina, he was helping his mom clean out the food of her fridge to make sure, it didn't spoil and stuff like that. Getting rid of it so that her house wouldn't smell bad and all of this. Dude, the last time that his mom saw him, he was hitchhiking out of Napoleonville. The next time that you would see him would just be skeletal remains.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the only way that they were able to identify him was his ID, and personal belongings were found near, his decomposed corpse.
Wow.
Yep.
So it was that long.
Oh, yeah.
Where he was found.
Yep. So 2 months later, he took the life of 21-year-old Nicholas Pellegrin.
My God.
Shortly before his death, he was being watched due to family members telling the police that Nicholas Pellegrin had borrowed money from a local drug dealer and was receiving death threats due to him not paying it back. So police, after finding his remains, brushed it off, even though he had the same cause of death as being drug related.
Yeah.
Yep.
Coincidence.
Yeah.
Yep. So I have one more insult for Ronald Dominique, and I have to say it.
Lay it on.
I have to say
Please,
it.
Grace.
I'm zooming in. I'm zooming out. I'm zooming back in, straight on my face. Zooming back out. We're going to zoom back in right now. Guess what? The last known victim of the trash Siberian orchestra of a human being, Ronald Dominique.
I approve.
Yeah, absolutely. Best one so far.
Was 27-year-old Christopher Sutterfield. I apologize. Sutterfield. Mr. Christopher and Dominique met in the summer of 2006. Shortly after, they began dating. Allegedly started dating. On October 14th, while out on a date in Iberville, Dominique hit Mr. Sutterfield on the head with a heavy object, causing him to lose consciousness. Dominique then assaulted him and strangled him to death. Later, when interviewing his relatives, they confirmed that he had left in a black SUV, but they were unable to give detailed descriptions of Dominique.
Great.
What has me messed up about it, honestly, is that if Ronald McDonald's biggest fan, trash Siberian Orchestra himself, Ronald Dominique, I apologize. Ronald Dominique was, in fact, dating Christopher Sutterfield. You would assume, you would hope that he met his family. They know the vehicle that he drives.
Yeah.
But then again, gentlemen, this is 2006, and homosexuality is still frowned upon, and they were probably still hiding the relationship, and that, they probably never met.
Yeah, probably so.
Especially like southern Louisiana being more conservative. Yeah.
Right.
That wouldn't be out in the open.
No.
And that's the sad part about it. If his family would have been accepting of his lifestyle, then they would have been able to catch him.
Yeah.
Indefinitely been able to catch him. But sadly, no. Now, remember how I said this was his last victim, right? Right?
Yeah. Wrong.
Please.
Left, not right. Well, he tried for one last victim.
He tried.
Yes. Luckily, this would be the one that put Dominique in Justice's cross.
Thank
God.
goodness.
Exactly. We did it, gentlemen.
It took long enough.
It really did.
23 bodies too many, but we got them.
23 too many. Absolutely ridiculous. November of 2006, Ricky Wallace, a resident of Bayou Blue, reported that Dominique lured him into his trailer in mid-2006 with an offer to share illicit substances and have sexual relationships with a girl. Now, Dominique tried, heavy emphasis on the tried, to convince Ricky Wallace that the girl enjoyed bondage and told him he would tie him up before she comes in. Now, one thing that I did leave out intentionally until this part in particular, Ronald Dominique did enjoy cross-dressing. Okay, before all of these victims and all of the assaults and everything like that, he enjoyed cross-dressing. So he would go to the opposite side of Bourbon, cross-dress as Patti LaBelle, and he would sing and stuff like that. But even in the LGBTQ community, he was not accepted because they knew that he was weird. You know, like, even with them, he was not accepted.
Good Lord.
So, little tidbit of information, just wanted to give that to y'all. I think that if he would have tied up Ricky Wallace, he would have came out dressed as Patti LaBelle.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of the thing. Like, I want y'all, the audience, to put down in the comments what y'all think. Like, was he intentionally going to tie him up, go dress up as Patti LaBelle, and, you know, commit the crime? Or was he just going to commit the crime? I don't know. Put it down in the comments, you know, because I want to hear what y'all have to say about this. You know, did he dress up as Patti LaBelle while he was doing these crimes? I don't know. You know, like, they didn't have a GoPro on him. But anyways, I digress. So Ricky Wallace refused, and surprisingly, Dominique let him leave.
Wow.
He just let him leave.
Started getting careless.
Yeah. You know?
I mean, I would too. You 22 people deep and there's still no lead.
Oh, yeah.
I mean...
No, 23 people.
23.
He killed his last victim. Ricky would have been his 24th victim.
Okay. So 23 people and still...
Ending it
this
on an odd note.
Yeah. He got cocky. He got too cocky.
You know, and that's the thing. He let him leave, but the thing that kind of... I guess I get it. You know, there's no way for them to tie him, no pun intended, tie him to the crimes just because Ricky Wallace was allowed to leave.
Yeah, I guess you're correct.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have just been a hearsay type of thing.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, his statement was questionable to the police, but nevertheless, they go to Dominique. Ask him if they could come in, and they ended up arresting him. They brought him to the station, did blood swabs just to take a sample for testing, and allowed him to leave after that. Yeah, allowed him to leave after that, and then they brought him back as soon as the blood test came back as a positive match with irrefutable evidence. They arrested him.
Boom.
Yep. Full-on interrogation. During the hours of interrogation that I had sat through, he dodged the questions with, yeah, maybe, and I don't know, you know, to the police. And they caught on to it, and they baited him into it with loaded questions. And Dominique fell for it, giving details that only the victims or police would know.
Gotcha, bitch!
And just like that, they booked him on December 1st, 2006 at a homeless shelter that he was staying at because his sister finally kicked him out after the police raided his trailer.
Yeah.
Well,
Actually should have.
Yeah, correct.
You know, and the thing is, the police, like, they were looking for trophies. So one thing that a lot of serial killers and mass murderers and stuff like that, what they do is they keep trophies. Like, you know, I'm still on the fence about Ed Gein, but, you know, Ed Gein had all of his, you know, his furniture that was made out of human skin. I still think that he just robbed graves, but anyways, you know, so on and so forth and what have you. But they didn't find any at all. He didn't keep any trophies whatsoever. No wallets, no belts, no t-shirts from the victims, watches, rings, chains, nothing. He kept nothing. And after accepting a plea bargain from prosecution on September 24th, 2008, so that's 2 years later, finally goes to court, everything like that. He's finally charged. They found Dominique on every single damn charge.
Wow.
Everyone, and sentenced him to 8 life sentences in Angola State Penitentiary. Personally, I believe firmly that this is not enough. And he deserves 23 life sentences and 23 death sentences.
Yep.
How did he not have the death sentence? That's, I guess as an option.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, when I say 23 life sentences and 23 death sentences, I want them to... Louisiana State Penitentiary, look at me. Look, no, stop backing away. Stop backing away. Look at me. Look at me. Bring back gruesome Gertie. Bring back gruesome Gertie. Bring back the electric chair and electrocute Ronald Dominique 23 times.
Yes. The gruesome Gertie will keep people in line. You watch.
Yes. Gruesome Gertie 23 times. Bury him, exhume his body, put him back in there, and just keep doing it.
Yep.
Or a wood chipper. $500 a day from Home Depot. Feet first. You can mulch the garden.
Yes.
All right. Personal opinion. I apologize, but yet again, I digress.
We could go back to old school France. Guillotine.
Guillotine. Yeah, exactly. Yep. And honestly, gentlemen, that is the Bayou Strangler. All of that is the Bayou Strangler.
Yeah. And it's a shame because a lot of it could have been avoided.
Yes. A lot of it could have been prevented.
Most of it.
If there was not, more, or at least if there was not less stigma besides being a homosexual at the time, 23 lives could have been saved.
100%.
But it's South Louisiana. I'm not going to say it is what it is because it's unacceptable. And being that it was people of color, it's just even more baffling.
It is.
But...
That's a sign of the times.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I mean, it's not like we talking back in the 40s or 50s here. This is 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That's 30, almost 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
we old. Good God, we old.
It's not that long ago that it's still dealing with this crap.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, we want to hear from y'all.
Yes.
Tell us what y'all thought of this. And, it's absurd. It's absurd. It's one of the most absurd cases that I think we've covered, honestly, besides the Axeman.
I agree.
Like, it's ridiculous. Very infamous, very, shocking, high body count for a span of, 10 years? Almost 12 years?
Yeah. A long time.
So, thank you all for watching. This is Bayou Channel 0. Make sure to like, subscribe, show us to your friends, show us to your mama. She might like us, your old lady might like us. I don't know, I'm married. But anyways, like, subscribe, comment, share us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and if you have Tumblr, I don't know, do it. We're here for it.
Do it.
That's
you won't regret it.
Yeah. Even share us on MySpace. Thank you, baby. We're out.
We're out.
Oh, yeah.